This episode is brought to you by the World Championship Blacksmiths. Their next event after the Classic is the West Texas Ranch Rodeo with the judge John McNerney, and that's in Amarillo, Texas, April 9th. The WCB puts on the best horseshoeing competitions around the world, in my opinion, bar none. And the WCB is more than just a place where you can go and compete. You're actually networking and you're building relationships with folks that you wouldn't necessarily meet if you hadn't gone out there and shook some hands and met some people. As Craig likes to say, your vibe attracts your tribe. So it would help if you show your support and you go to worldchampionshipblacksmiths.com, and they have a whole section there of merchandise where you can show your support by sporting some merch. And then on their website, you can use code BRAINS and get yourself 10% off any merchandise. It's not including contest fees or membership. So help share your support, and we're looking forward to seeing you guys in Amarillo, Texas.
All right, welcome everybody to another episode of Forging Brains podcast. I'm your host, Riley Patrick, my co-host, Gavin Cooper. And this weekend, we're at Troy Woods' shop in Northeast Washington. I don't remember what the town was called.
Riverside.
We're in Riverside. For some reason, I didn't think it was that simple before.
Snasket.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I was like. I remember it being something hard to pronounce. Riverside's way easier. We're in Riverside, and you came after Troy bought it, but Coke's hard to get now. So you kind of have to just buy it as a truckload, especially in our part of the world. Not a lot of people to do it. So Troy commandeered this time, and all the Coke came here. So it was like a good opportunity for us to drive up here. Gavin's got a body on his truck, so he kind of...
Yeah, I appreciate that you were able to haul a ton home for me.
That's kind of like the nice thing about hey, people always think why be a part of a community and shit, and it's like, hey, have friends that think about you every once in a while.
Yeah.
So that's like the same. We're like, Troy is our friend, so he's like, hey guys, you guys need Coke? I'm starting to need Coke. We're like, yep, we need Coke. Well, then we got this. I was thinking one day, I'm like, well, I need to go up and get my Coke from Troy. And I'm like, well, wait, Gavin doesn't have a truck. I'm like, Gavin has a truck with a body on it.
Get a trailer.
Yeah, so I was like, that's going to be a pain in the dick for him. So it's just like perfect opportunity for each one of us to come grab a ton, and we come up and hang out with Troy and get a little forge in it.
All that tonnage, Pablo Esco Forge or something.
That's what I call Troy. Yeah, because Troy all brags to us. We're like, well, yeah, I'll take one, I'll take two. You know, everybody's kind of saying what they're going to trade. And Troy's like, well, don't worry, I'll just keep all the rest of them. You got to buy a semi truckload, so 21 ton.
It was 22, but I was
22 tons.
I was like, I'd be happy if I kept 15.
Yeah, right. I was like, Pablo Esco Forge over here, just got
commandeering.
Yeah, got all more Coke than everybody else around. It's kind of a funny little side note. It's I feel kind of fucked up saying it, but it's a while back, a supply house near us, they used to be where we all bought our Coke from. And then they randomly decided they were going to up the price, double it on us. And it's we all just went around them. And so now we all just buy it. It's still not cheap, but still, and you got to figure out how to get 22 tons of home.
Yeah.
But it is kind of a good way to do it. And it worked out good. I don't have anything to practice for right now because I'm an old man. I'm not competing, but Amarillo's coming up and Spruce is coming up and everything. So it's kind of a great time. Gavin's going to both of those. And hopefully both. He's hoping to make the cut for Spruce because it's lower numbers this year.
Hopefully make the cut.
Hopefully
Split it out.
Take long-haired weirdos.
Yeah.
But so it was a good time to come up here and kind of just work through some stuff, get a little practice in. And it was a pretty good day. Troy, we got here last night. We drove up. It was an 8-hour drive for me. Gavin's about 4 hours for me, so about halfway through the trip, I picked Gavin up. And then we cruised all the rest of the way up here last night. You guys had a 2-man go last night, right?
Yeah, for Amarillo, the tongs and the draft shoe.
That was the first time you ran that, right?
Yeah, in time.
Yeah, so how'd that go?
Well, we had a little hiccup with the riveting in before.
It was your hole was already wallered and snug.
Yeah.
And so you drove the rivet in there.
Yeah, and it didn't want to come back out.
It did not want to come back out.
But it's doable in time.
Even with that hiccup, you got the rivet back out, got the pair together.
Yeah, they weren't great.
Got it done. And then today, It was nice. Troy went and got 2 horses, and one of the horses was like a smaller quarter horse, so it was like a tool and folded horse.
Yep.
So you guys did a tool and folded go on the front of that horse, and then me and Ed, we'll introduce you guys to Ed here in a second. Me and Ed did the hind end of that horse. We did some plain stamps on it.
Yep.
That was pretty good. It was nice, like, kind of, we paid attention to the time clock, but also, like, towards the end, like, took the time to, like, fix the things that you wanted to fix.
Right.
And so you were, like, you had a good image after, like, in your head. You're like, all right, that's close. Like, and now I just need to figure out how to do that in times. And then we did, Troy's got a bigger horse named Ike that's just a heavier boned horse. And we put 3/8 by 1 on that horse. And you guys did the sideways shoe for Amarillo with the cutouts. Yeah, you guys did the fronts. It was like close to the specimen. And then so me and Ed were going to do the hind end. So we figured we might as well just do the same thing. So the horse kind of had a matching set on him. And it was just kind of fun, something fun. I don't know if that shoe does a ton, but it has cool lines.
Yeah, it sure looks cool.
Yeah, it has lines to it. They like, it's just, it adds in another little extra over like just a rare 3/8 by 1 3/4 forward shoe. Kind of added a little bit extra. Yeah, so we did that, and then you guys had another 2-man go after that.
Yeah.
I do like that.
We're a little pressed on time, so we just ran the tongs.
Yeah, you guys did the preventer, and then did the tong again. Your second tong though was way
It was a little bit more fluent.
Yeah,
You know.
no rivets got stuck.
No worries about stuff.
Things went together.
Systems.
It is one something like everybody that I've noticed do that go is normally when you're making tongs, you don't want the jaws to get too big for them to be sized for like big stock.
Yeah.
And it definitely seems like during that go you don't have to worry about it.
I always remember, like, so we were down at Craig's last summer, and Craig was like, everyone's asking him, like, make a pair of tongs, Craig, and Craig's
Well,
like,
because that was for spruce.
Yeah.
And they were
And
3/8.
he's like, man, it's been so long since I made a pair, and it's like, I usually make a pair, and then they're sized for like 1-inch steel, and then I don't know what to do. And in my head, I keep thinking, like, I'm gonna make it, they're gonna be like for 1-inch steel.
Yeah.
So,
But instead it comes out opposite each time for you. It came out like you did like 1/4-inch tongs.
yeah, and having to size them up.
Yeah. So it was kind of
Gotta figure that out.
yeah, I think multiple people will have that problem.
Yeah,
And like just, it'll be a roadblock.
Yeah.
like making tongs.
A lot of people will get in a rush in that class.
That's what I think.
Yeah.
A rush, and it's one of those things where it's like I think it's a problem with how we talk about things too. Like, I pretty much got 3 heats in and I got a tong. It's like, no, 3 heats in, you have a side.
Yeah, half a
And
tong.
it's the same thing as like shoeing a horse. You're like, well, 3 heats, I got a shoe made. It's like, yeah,
It's a long way for that to be nailed up.
exactly.
Yeah.
So I think like today, with Gavin's second go, we watched him. He was a little past halfway. You had like 13 minutes left, and they weren't together yet, but they were both built.
Yeah,
And you spent the rest of that time just getting them together.
yeah,
So you like just split the time in half. They gave themselves 30 minutes to make the pair of tongs.
yep.
And it was, you spent a solid 16, 17 minutes, or not 16, 17, like 13 to 12 minutes,
Trying to size them.
size them and put them together. So I think that's where like the big time suck going to hit. Everyone's going to try to rush through that first part. And then you're going to hit this point where it's like, fuck.
Something I just thought about that tip money gave the other day about rasping just the front half that you can't get to. So in the go last night, I rasped a lot of the stuff on the back half, and I didn't rasp a lot of the back half stuff today in that time.
Yep.
You just want to rasp from the shoulders up.
Yeah.
Anything that you can't get to once it's riveted.
Yep.
Right.
Once it's together.
Yeah.
And that's what we were talking about that last night on our way home. I was like, it's watching your go, you just got in the vice and were lost. It was like watching a guy his first time rasping a shoe. He just doesn't have a system of, I hit this, and this. Like, you kind of put him in there and it was like, I watched you like sit up and look back down at the tongs a couple
Yeah,
times.
like,
Like,
what do I
where's
do?
next?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you just kind of have to have that thing of like inside the boss, the edges of the boss, inside of the jaw, the back side of the rein,
edges. Yep.
put them together.
Yeah.
Because it is like once they're together in their size, like you can at least start working on the shoe. And while that shoe's in the fire, you can be rasping on them.
What would your system be in the vise?
I think that's where it'd be. Is like while they're apart, I would come in. I would flatten the inside of my boss. I would dress that edge of the inside of the jaw.
Get them to articulate. Yeah.
Where I just worry about them articulating around each other. I would chamfer that edge, all the edges of the inside of the boss. They'll hang on each other, and then the inside of the ring.
Yep.
And then I'd put them together. Because after that, I can touch everything else.
Afterwards. Yeah.
And it's kind of one of those things of like, well, like, you know what I mean? Like when you're boxing a shoe and you're hot rasping a shoe, you're just like, well, it's pointless to do the hoof side until you burnt it on. Because you don't want to have to move. Like, yeah, you're trying to be really accurate at where it's like, but you'd have to move your boxing a little bit.
Yeah.
It's like, so it's kind of the same thing with the tongue. It's pointless to box or do too much of the wrestling until they're together, because then you might have to move it around a little bit to make it match the other side. But it's like, I would definitely do, inside of that boss, edges of the boss, inside of that jaw, backside of my rein, pop them together.
Is there anything you're going to do different than that, Troy?
No, I'm going to do just that. Yep, get them to articulate good. And then the outside of the tongs as well. Get all the lines cut in. They don't really need to be topped off much because, I mean, I think for tongs, it's more of the inside where they rub against each other is what you want to have nice and smooth.
Yep.
But
definitely for a pretty pair, you definitely want to, you can't rasp where you put the rivet again. So if you do the outside of the boss too, I think for a guy like you, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Average dude, it ain't going to come down to that.
Yeah. Most guys are going to overdo it in the first 2 or 3 heats, and then they're...
So that's kind of like Gavin did that last night, where he's like kind of rasping on it for a while, and it's like, put those things together. Like, it's like a lot of that it can just be done like later, completely.
Yeah.
No, I think that's definitely, a lot of people are just going to be on the conservative side of the jaw, and I think that's like a little bit of product of just what everyone's been told for a long time, and be careful, don't do too many half-base blows. I think you can do way more than you... I do think there's time in the class.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
100%.
I don't think it's as wolfy as even I thought it was when I first was aware of it. When John first was like, this is what we're going to do, I'm like, well, I ain't going. That sounds horrible.
Yeah, I thought so too.
Yeah, now watching it, it's like, okay, this isn't that bad. I think everybody's going to have a decent go of this. So, no, it was good. It was good to be able to watch it happen. And it's like, for Gavin too, it's like probably good just to do it with a striker.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing I needed to do. Because you're going to be gone for a week or so and across the pond or whatever. So
spring games.
Not going to be able to get together before.
Yeah, so you leave Monday for spring games.
Yep.
How long will you be there?
The 1st through the 6th of April.
That's crazy. So when is Amarillo?
Since day one, we've had the great sponsor of Farrier box. And something that's really cool is, I don't know if they read our minds or not, but this last month's box was pretty dang cool. Came with a brand new Salcedo hoof knife, some tool ruse, some buffing compound, and a cotton wheel, and basically sets you up just to go straight to trimming feet and knifing them out. So amongst some other things, and then if you guys want to get on the program, go to farrierbox.com, use code brains, and get 25% off your first month's box. You won't be disappointed with all these tools that you get. So sign up, do something cool.
The 8th through the 11th?
Yeah,
isn't
the
it?
9th.
Or the 9th through the 11th or 12th?
So, okay, that's right. You're saying you're going to go...
I'm going to go to Matt Findler's place and shoe horses with him for a few days.
Before Amarillo.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of people don't get, they're like, oh, must be nice, to be able to do this. Also this week you've been doing 10 horses a day pretty much every single day.
Yeah.
So you can take off for that whole entire time.
Yeah.
That's kind of the part a lot of people miss out on. It's you got to cram it in.
Worked out that you had Ed the slave here working with you.
I was a slave.
Yeah, so we got Ed with us. We've talked to a couple people that have done the cultural exchange from our side.
Yeah.
I think you're the first person we've had on that's been done the
It's
cultural
always been
exchange.
after the fact.
Yep.
They've done
Yeah.
Right.
he's currently here.
Yeah.
You are
On
in
the
the
shit.
shit of it.
I'm in the 3rd week. out of 13 weeks.
So did you have any family that shot horses?
Yeah, I've got my uncle. He's a farrier, and then I've always been brought up horse-wise. So I've just known about the farrier game since the start, really.
When did you know that you wanted to be a horseshoer?
It was a winter when I was on a breaking yard, and I thought I'm not going to be shoveling horse muck for the rest of my life. So I was just like,
Oh, you're like working
yeah,
at a stable.
I was working at a stable, and I was just like, you know what, I'm not.
How
doing
old
this.
were you?
I was about 17 then.
Okay, yeah, not too bad. Because isn't it like we hear all the time that it's like hard to get into horseshoeing school over there?
It is. It's very difficult. Yeah.
What did you have to do to get
So
in there?
for me, because everything's changed since I've been, it's for a big change in the industry. I have to do a pre-course. Now there were 2 pre-courses on offer. You had a yearly one, which took a year for all your forging skills and your horsemanship, or you could do a quick one, which is like 3 months, just intense forge work.
Okay.
So I basically went out on work experience with the farrier that I was on the yard, that worked on the yard. He introduced me to David Gully, taught me how to swing a hammer for the first time. Then he sent me off to the 3-month course.
Okay.
And during that 3-month course, I was introduced to my boss over that time, and that's how I managed to get an apprenticeship, because a lot of lads that were on that course didn't have a job lined up, and I didn't have one lined up until about halfway through. And that was all depending on me passing that preset.
And so do you have to have a job lined up before you can go to school?
Yes, so you have to be able to be taken on by an ATF. So how it works is you can be a DIPW, and the older ones have grandfather's rights on having an ATF, which is basically an approved training farrier. They basically just means they can take on and train lads. They do another course every year, just shows they're capable of teaching.
Yeah.
That's about it really for the ATF thing. But there's only about 100, 130 in the country that are actively taking on.
Not many.
Not many at all. So, and you'll be lucky if they take, the way it is, unless you're in like Newmarket in the race stables where they do numbers, you'll be lucky if a boss has more than 1 or 2 lads.
Okay.
Most of the time it's like a boss and a lad, from my experience.
Yeah. Is that kind of the situation you were in? Was just one boss and you?
Yeah, just me and my boss, yeah.
Okay. And how long? So you do the pre-course. Do you just go straight to school after that?
So I passed the pre-course. The person in charge of the farrier course then pulled me aside straight away and sat me down for an interview to do my interview for the course. And that was basically a tick box exercise to make sure everything was appropriate, everything was there. Then, so I qualified. I did the pre-course on the Friday. Then on the Monday, I started my apprenticeship as sort of the work experience boy, because they do an intake 2 times a year. Now there's 3 colleges in England, and 2 times a year they all take an intake. However, one will miss out, so you basically get at least 2-3 attempts to get into a college.
Okay.
But I was
so you could fully pass the pre-course, have an apprenticeship lined up, and still not get in.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So, and for me, it was on a time restraint because of my age. I was close to turning 19, and after then, the government won't provide you the money to fund it, so then you have to self-fund it. So I got in when I turned 18, got in, and literally two months after I got in, I turned 19. So it was very
Close.
much splitting hairs.
Close.
So yeah, very close.
How long is the school?
So we call it college. For me, it was 4.5 years. It's about 4.5 years in total with all the add-ons of all the education and stuff that's added onto it. So you go like every 6 months. So with me, the first block was a month long for 4 weeks, where you go through tool maintenance, how to make simple tools like stamps, rituals, and the basics of shoemaking. But most lads by that time have done like 6 months with a farrier in the workshop, practicing shoemaking and getting everything ready before they can then start their apprenticeship officially.
Wow, there's a lot of work to even get your foot in the door.
So much more, but it also kind of like holds you back almost a little bit too at times. That it's like you got to stay in the school for 4.5 years under the apprenticeship.
Yeah.
Troy hasn't even shown horses for 4.5 years. Probably right at.
No, 5 years now. Closer to 5.5.
Yeah, it's a long process, but it's very, it basically weeds out the people that aren't interested.
Yeah.
Like if
Yeah.
You gotta be committed.
Yeah, if you're committed. I mean, they spent the first year just basically making you do the worst jobs that you have to do. So you're just clenching and wrenching. That is what you're doing for the first year, and you're just making shoes time and time again just to get to standard.
Yep.
So you can keep going forwards, because every 6 months you'll go to college, you'll have to pass exams at college. If you don't pass those exams, you can't go forwards.
Really?
So you said you did get the government funded?
Yes. Yeah.
How much would that cost
About 20 grand, I'd say.
for the 4.5 years?
4.5 years, yeah.
That's not that
It's
bad
it's
at
not
all.
bad at all, no.
Yeah, because what Gregory's is getting close to that, I think, right?
For a freaking 6-month course.
Yeah,
Not 4.5 years.
yeah,
Yeah, I think it's more than 20 grand.
Yeah.
But I
Wow.
could be wrong.
yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Look it up. I mean,
Then how long were you working with your boss before now that you're on the cultural exchange?
So I worked with my boss for about 4.5 years, and then I basically qualified. Then I was given a lot more money to stay on. And then after that time, I just stayed on for 2 years, started at 5 days, then I whittled down to about 2 to 3 days a week on off, just 'cause it was a very good source of income whilst my business was growing.
Yeah.
And then basically I got a call from the FBA saying, "Do you want to go on the course?"
Oh, they called you.
6-month course at Heartland, $25,000.
Oh wow,
Wow.
that's gone up a lot.
Is that an intensive course though?
Yes.
Yeah.
7 days
Yeah,
a week.
7 days a week.
Yeah.
Very
They do a pretty good job.
they're gonna make you forage so much
See,
during that time. You're gonna be under a pile of horses.
Really?
Like it is very condensed and very intense.
Yeah, it's one of the
With us,
best schools here
yeah.
in the United States.
Because with us it's spread out, so you'll go over the 6 months, like 2-3 weeks.
That's what it sounded like. Yeah.
And then you get an intensive run course and learning all the new theory, and it's down to you to make sure you're up to scratch on it so you don't lose it. Then they also give you basically homework or whatever you want to do, a shoe list, what to practice for when you go back to college, because they'll just test you again to make sure you're to standard.
And it seems like majorly it's gonna be dependent on who you're apprenticing under,
Yes.
of how
Yeah,
good
completely.
he is and
Yeah.
what he's making you do while you're at home.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm sure you see that growing as you're going through college with this group of people.
Oh yeah.
You're like,
people change.
that guy's always barely making it, and
Yeah.
this guy's
Yeah.
always
So I
doing
always
good. Like,
I started a bit on a rough patch, but then I basically went to middle of the pack as we all just stayed together. But we started with about 20 apprentices, and then with people backblocking and stuff. So the amount that came from the original pot was about 11 people that finished.
okay,
Yeah. So it's a big attrition rate.
I went to school with, I think there's 12 in my class.
Oh,
One
wow.
other kid shoes horses.
Jeez, so they've grown a lot too.
Yeah, mine was a pretty small class. So how long have you been out of school before you came into this deal?
About 2 years. So I
Okay.
put an application in when I first qualified. Just thought I'll throw it out there. There's no harm in not trying.
Yeah,
For the cultural exchange?
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
so you actually did put an
I put an
application
application in.
it's
was
something
wondering-
that's talked about
Yeah,
at school.
it's
Okay.
talked about, and it's said to do it, but most lads, they just want to get under horses and make money.
I was wondering if they just randomly cold called you and be like, hey, you
no.
want to go?
No, I was. It was quite funny because you have to do an interview as well.
Yeah.
Like when they called me for an interview, but that was like.
It sounds like it's the same thing that's like
Okay.
here, where you got to like do like an essay.
Yeah,
and
it was
everything.
just a quick essay saying why do you want to do it. I just said, well, I want to see the country and interested in tools and tool making. Hence why I'm with Troy, meeting you guys. Like Troy's taught me how to make a hammer over this week, which has been great. And it's like they had an interview, and they said, from what I found out, they called out all through my references, checked everything, did all that, and then I basically got sent a letter saying, right, you're going. And I was like, cool.
What do you get to pick the area you want to go to?
They basically say whereabouts do you want to go, and I said, well, I would like to go on the west side, like California, or just on the north. I said, can I go start on the north and move down the west coast? And they said, yeah, we can do that. But because everyone was like, do you want to go to Florida or Texas? I mean, the first thing for me is Florida is full of show jump horses and stuff like that. I do that every day.
Yeah.
I'm going to be bored. I'm going to be so bored. I'm just going to do the same stuff I do every day.
Yeah.
What's the point? And then in Texas, it's going to be too hot for me. I'm just going to melt.
It's also called the cultural
Yeah.
exchange. So
I was going to say, is that, have you always thought about coming to it, like America at all? Or like?
I've always wanted to do it. Like throughout my apprenticeship, I knew about it and I thought,
But I mean, like when you were a kid,
when I came to it, no.
Were you ever like, Wild West America?
No, honestly, no. I was just like, obviously, I watched the cowboy films when
That's
I was
what I was
kid.
wondering. Yeah.
That was good fun watching them. But like, what I mean is, until I basically qualified, I just had it in the back of my mind that I wanted to go. Then I had the opportunity to go, so I'd be silly not to. Like, you keep that 10 years down the time thinking I could have done it.
Yeah, I was wondering how they kind of chose where to send you, because they always kind of send everybody to one region.
Well, I was pretty insistent that I wanted to see as much of the country, but I said I wanted to see real America. I didn't want to see all this modern. I wanted to see the real people, not all this modern fancy, I'm amazing stuff. I want to see people that day-to-day shooters, people that are good with tools, because I'm interested in making some tools, and I just want to see real people.
Yeah.
And he said, I know just the thing. And then give it like 2 months later, I got contacted by Brian. He said he's going to organise everything for me. Brian Strelo, he's
great guy to have organize everything too.
Oh,
Top notch.
Great. He said, I've got these are some top boys on the scheme, lots of people, and I'm travelling basically clockwise from Seattle round down to Oregon through Bend, all the way back up the west coast. And it's like, I'm going to meet so many people. And I'm only in the third week. I've already met like hundreds of people already.
3 weeks? Yeah. You said? What was your first, where did you land when you came?
So I landed in Seattle Airport.
Okay.
Yeah. And
who picked you up?
Brian did.
Brian
picked me up after about an hour of waiting for customs, which is a bit of a stressful hour, that was.
Yeah.
Like, I went up to customs and he said, what are you here for? I'm here on the cultural exchange. He said, all right, okay. Off you go into the side door, sir. I was like, okay. And then I spent an hour just being questioned, are you here for being paid? I'm like, no. Are you here for what are you here for? I'm here for an education and just to see the culture and everything. And hopefully someone will learn off me and I'll learn off them. And I was watching farrier videos on the screen behind.
Oh, really?
Yeah, trying to figure out what I was doing.
Did he have Gavin on there?
I couldn't
go see that guy.
I saw fire and a hammer and tongs swinging, and I was like, yeah, he's figuring out what my job is.
Yeah.
And then he sat me down, and I just saw him watching and clicking, and after about 10 minutes, he just said, right, mate, off you go. And I was like, perfect.
He was watching, he was like, these guys make no money.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you got here, and like the first thing you do is our Fairs Washington State's spring contest.
Yeah, that was very quick, jumping straight into it. I mean, I didn't have much time to practice. My band broke down a month before, so I had no way to practice, which was fun. But Brian was very nice. He let me just have full reign of the forge just to get back up to scratch the best I could, and especially when you're being hungover. That's not the right word, is it? Jet lagged. Jet lagged.
Hungover is like alcohol.
Yeah, I'm trying to. I'm used to that. Getting jet lagged. So we did the first 2 days. I was waking up at like stupid o'clock in the morning, and then trying to accustom. And then the first week, I was basically a zombie throughout the entire competition. But it was fun.
In a different style of shoes.
Oh, yeah. So that one thing that did make me scratch my head is they said convention heels to
the heel slope.
Yeah, right. So
Pleasure hunter.
Yeah. So I'm watching Chris Madrid do the demonstration, and I'm watching him. I see him putting a hunter heel on, and I look over, and Troy's looking at me, and I just go, "How is he going to fit that?" And he goes, "Well, he's going to fit it pleasure, but with hunter heels." And then I come over after the demonstration. Chris says, "Yeah, just fit it pleasure, even with hunter heels." And I said, "Yeah, but it's wrong. It's hunter heels. Hunter heels finish at the point of heel. If not, you put a round heel on, or you put something a normal heel on. So
You do great at convention.
yeah.
Let's talk about the greatest horseshoeing supply house in the world, Wellshod. You know, it says a lot about who they are and what they support by, you know, allowing us all to come there and, you know, basically just tear up the whole Wellshod building. So they pretty much have every tool that you can imagine or every supply that you can imagine that you need to, you know, use in your business. Just go onto their website, www.wellshod.com, and they got everything you can need, any tool, supply, and also the $10 flat rate shipping. So can't get much better than that. If you use code BRAINS at checkout, they'll send you a little surprise gift in there as well. So support those who support you. I think that says a lot about the companies that have supported Forge and Brains and been a part with us. Is, you know, they're invested in you guys as well. So help them survive by supporting them and, you know, purchasing the things they have to offer. So thank you guys.
No, man, that's what we call convention.
Yeah.
That's our weird term for it.
Yeah.
All of us know what you're talking about. Yeah, big convention heels on there. You're like, oh, okay.
Yeah, everybody knows.
It really what it means, like here, like we made people do it at the last contest. We wanted sloped heels on at where was that?
Oh, on the
contest?
inside
Fort
of
Worth.
Fort Worth.
Yeah, and it's kind of like it's more of a, I want you to fit it 3/4 fuller. I don't want penciled heels.
Yeah.
But I don't want a bunch of baggy shit on there.
Yeah.
Like I want it like fit. so I'm sure that's why Chris did it too. He's like,
That was actually
I don't want a bunch of shit on there.
one thing that was really sick about a state contest and being our state or whatever. Like before each class, he demoed each shoe.
Yeah.
That is
shoes.
so freaking.
So everybody was able to see it, and then you have your go.
It's something that I feel bad. I don't feel bad when we're at like a big contest, like a WCB even, and you go and the guy's like, well, I didn't know. I'm like, that is your fault to not know.
Yeah.
That is no one else's fault to not know. But then like I've judged some local contests where you got 20 guys there and they're like, well, fuck, I didn't really know what you want. It's like, sorry. Yeah. I wish like it would be nice to do a little demo beforehand so then these people have. It's like, in my mind, the local contest is more of a learning environment.
That's what it felt. It felt very welcoming. Everyone
Well, the one
nice.
you went to, that's
That was our biggest one.
Everyone was saying it's so big. I was like, wow, it is pretty big. Like we filled that whole arena up, even down the middle. I was very impressed. I mean, in England, we basically
it's no WCB, but
yeah, for a state contest,
for a state contest, that's pretty big.
Yeah.
There's more in Texas last year, you said, right?
Yeah.
More competitors. Mm-hmm. It's pretty cool.
No, it's super cool. Yeah, it's cool you got to go see a good one. And you got to come to a cool area. Like, I mean, Oregon will be whatever, but you got, like, Brian to be the host for the thing. Like, man, you freaking scored.
Yeah, one thing I was thinking was kind of cool was, but you going to the contest right away, you met most of the people.
Yeah,
so you got to meet everybody.
That's what I thought was pretty good because I got loads of people shaking my hand saying, hi, I'm so-and-so. And it was like a really good icebreaker just to meet the majority of people here.
Yeah.
And everyone's really nice.
What a cool, like, I didn't do the cultural exchange, and I wish I would have known more about it when I got out of school to try to do it. Because it is a really, really cool deal. Everybody you talk to has done it.
Yeah, I wanted to do it.
What a freaking awesome deal. Like, man, like just this weekend, you just had a whole day of shoeing horses with Troy Woods. And it's like, man, it's us three and you hanging out here freaking shooting horses.
Very rare.
We don't even like people. So it's like, this is even something
I feel very lucky,
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
People always say, like, yeah, let me know when you guys are going to get together. You're like, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry, we forgot.
Yeah.
It's just no, I think that the whole culture exchange deal is a freaking stellar deal. Works out really, really deal.
That's great.
Yeah, last one, he became a world champ last year. Last one of the guys.
Yeah, he did the cultural exchange like 10 years ago.
But,
Yeah.
And then he stayed for a while like that. After that.
Yeah.
He was here for a while.
But still was on the cultural exchange.
Yeah.
Yep. Learned a ton. No, I think it's a really cool deal. What a cool opportunity. You got to freaking leave your country and not just like have a little vacation, but a full-on immersion.
Exactly.
I thought it was cool that I didn't know how they got picked on what area you go to, like for one to come to Washington. Like,
I just thought it'd be cool just to see as much as I could of the country, and I said let's start from the north and go down south and see how far we can get.
Yeah.
And Brian did not disappoint. The map, I'm seeing a big amount of the country, and then he told me that I'm the only person to have come in. Like last person was 12 years ago, and
usually they don't come here.
Right.
So I thought to myself, well, this is a great opportunity for me to sell this part of the country.
You got to go do some pretty funky stuff last week, right?
Oh, lots of funky stuff. Yeah. We did do some funky stuff. Some gated horses for the first time was new for me.
See, that's very American.
Yeah.
Long-footed.
It doesn't get much more American than long-footed horses.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm used to putting pads on and stuff, but not
a horse that's packed.
Ride a pig around in the arena,
length.
right?
Yeah. Well,
No. What did you get to go ride around? You said for the first time?
oh yeah, I rode a mule for the first time.
Mule.
Yeah.
You guys don't have mules?
No, I've only seen like one or two mules in my time in England, and one of them was a trim. The other one I just drove past it in a field, and that was like my entire shearing experience.
They really aren't that cool.
No, they're not common.
Or cool.
I don't know.
Some people might disagree.
No, they aren't. They're never nice. They're never cool. I am not a mule fan.
I'm not either, but
Just if John Wayne was on top of a fucking mule on the front of you, you'd be like, "That's a gay movie. I don't even want to watch it." But if he's on a nice quarter horse, you're like, "Fuck, what a badass."
dollar.
What a badass.
$1.
Man, there's just not much hardcore about a mule, and that's like, dude, a lot of houndsmen ride mules and everything.
I was watching,
Everybody, they love them.
Yeah.
God, I could never do
Well, the
it.
horse in front of me, it was slipping and sliding all over the place. And this mule, it just trotted along like nothing, didn't care, went over all the rocks and stones, didn't care.
No, they are solid. A
It
mule,
was like,
As sure-footed as it gets.
Yeah.
and the Grand Canyon,
yeah, heard of it, yeah.
you can only ride mules there.
Really?
They won't. You're not allowed to ride a horse there. A horse will kill himself with you on his back just to kill you.
Right.
A mule will not.
Yeah.
A mule, he loves himself.
Yeah.
Like, horses don't. They care less. They'll belly flop right on top of you. But they look good doing it. They look really good. So we had, earlier in the week, we asked people for some questions, if they had any questions.
Yeah, we got on Facebook, there's the group page, the Forge and Brains podcast group page.
Yep.
And Riley put out a post saying, if you guys have some questions and answers, post them up here and then we'll try and cover it. We said that we're going to be here at Troy's. And
Yeah, it's a good opportunity to have Troy here and everything, kind of get some different answers on it, not just me and Gavin answering the questions.
This episode is brought to you by Yukon Forge. John McNerney over at Yukon Forge is stepping up his game by trying to innovate the farrier business by incorporating new tools that are either for the working man or just a hobbyist or the guy that's going and competing as well. So he's got a whole new lineup of different tools. He's got the new driving hammer, the 14-ounce Scottish-style thistle, which is actually pretty sick, so you can get that on his website now. He's got tongs, hoof knives, any size hammer that you want. 1 3/4, 2 pound, 2.5 pound, 2 1/4 pound, you name it. John McNerney at Yukon Forge has it. Go to his website, check it out. Use code BRAINS, and you can get 10% off anything that you order on his website. So we appreciate John for sponsoring the show. And go check him out and get yourself some cool tools.
We'll start out with one of the beginning ones. Is a question. This came from Leighton Dimmitt. And a question for you guys is, how is the best Sorry, I'm like half dyslexic, so it's probably not that great. A question I have for you guys is, how is the best way to market yourself as a farrier just starting out? What are your guys' best tips on how to pick up and keep clients? What do you think, Gav?
I think networking, find somebody in your area that has been doing this for a while and is successful in that area, but also has a good grasp on, is doing a quality job.
Yes.
And by knowing that person, it can also, he might have some overflow work, he's going to give it to you, but you also have to put in the work yourself. You can't just expect to show up, shake his hand, and think, oh, now I met him, told him hey, if you're
He's gonna send something my way.
it's not gonna work that way. You got to put in a little work and a little, there's some relationship.
You gotta prove to him you're not gonna shit the bed.
Gotta be likable and humble.
Yeah.
You do.
And turn up when you say turn up.
Yeah.
What did you say?
Turn up when you say you want to turn up.
Yes. Yeah, it does seem like a big one. I mean, that's something from like my own personal where I know I dropped the ball, is I'm not good at communication. So like, I might take a day to call someone back.
Yeah.
Or to answer a text message. And some people that doesn't work with their programs.
Right.
And so it's like, then I end up not being their type of farrier. Like, and I don't think it's a quality of work thing. It's just a customer service thing. They're looking for customer service that I don't provide.
And kind of think of like, what kind of horses do you want to target? Do you want to target backyard kind of horses, or do you want to target barns and those things? So if you're working with somebody that's in barns all the time, they're going to see you with that person as well.
Yep.
And those are people that are going to want the communication as well, like lickety split.
Those are the people that's like, especially like, if you're wanting to just do backyard horses and stuff, it's like, we'll find like you're saying, find the horseshoer that's kind of doing those. Sometimes if you ride with one of the show farriers or something, that guy will get a lot of the backyard calls, and he'll actually kind of get the better of the backyard calls because it's like the show people that are going home and not showing anymore.
Yeah.
Well, and he probably won't take them on because he just wants to go to the barn where he has one stop for the day.
Yep.
And so he'll give you the onesies, twosies of all the people that are just going home, or the retired show horse or something like that.
Yeah.
It can be kind of a good deal. But it's like some places don't really have, it's like here, you don't have big barns.
No, only a few. A lot of cowboy horses, though.
Yeah.
But that's essentially kind of how you started your business, right? Like,
Yeah.
who did you worked with? Steve.
Yep. Worked with Steve Ritchie for about 2 years.
Steve's a reputable farrier.
You start beating your name out there.
Yeah, he'd give me his overflow during my apprenticeship. Is like the better I got is when he started giving me clients.
Yep.
And it was kind of when I got my CF initially. That's when he started giving me his overflow.
And I'm sure for like you guys too, you're so like intertwined with your master. Mm-hmm. That's probably where you get most of your clients.
Yeah, they just basically say, I've got this extra set here and there, and they'll say you could go and do it, and you go and do it, and then eventually someone will call up asking for some help. They can't fit in, so they give you your number, and it's just the same way. It just slowly builds up and builds up and builds up.
So I think that is definitely the way. Go to events. Like they take the guy, like go to events, go meet people that you can start riding with or hanging out with. See the end product here. Don't be like, well, I went and rode with you. How much are you going to pay me for the day?
Yeah.
He's going to pay you by you proving yourself for the day that you're worthwhile, that you can clinch well, that you can finish well, that he can give your name out.
Yeah.
And now later that might pay you back by you getting some clients that is a return money coming into you. So you didn't get paid your $100 for that day fee for working for the day.
Yeah.
But you could get 4 or 5 clients out of the deal later down the road, and that's going to work out.
It'll immediately put a sour taste in my mouth if a new guy's wanting to come work for me, and the first thing they ask is, well, how much do you pay?
Yep.
And it's like, well, this probably isn't going to work out.
Yep.
Pay you an education. I got $50 a week for my apprentice, in my apprenticeship, $50 a week. But the knowledge lasts forever.
Yep. Yeah. Worked out in the long run for you. Great. And it's like, my dad came from the same type of deal of like a hand-me-down trade type deal. And so that's something he installed me very early in my horseshoeing, was like, you better go work for free. If that guy offers to pay you, you tell him nothing. You tell him to keep his money.
Yep.
Send me a client. You tell him and so that's something I tried really. It's like, and I'm not a great person at this. I don't have a ton of clients, and I'm not really great at communicating clients right now. I've had the same clients I've had for a long time.
Yeah.
Right now, I don't really take on any new ones. But it's definitely, if I was a new guy and I was trying to pick up good clients, I would be trying to get word of mouth from recommendation from a good farrier in my area.
When I first saw the question come up on the page, I was like, oh man, that's going to be a hard one because I haven't necessarily advertised since I got out of school. And when I got out of school, I advertised on Craigslist. And nowadays, like,
That's the thing.
yeah, if you advertise on Craigslist, you're probably going to get some not so great
It's and people dog on those not great ones, but it's $50.
And
Sometimes $50 is freaking
Yeah.
sweet.
You've got to eat, haven't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I trimmed some minis in a living room one time. it was from a feed. I had a freaking flyer that I had this girl that I high school wrote. She made me a flyer up, and I freaking put it up at the feed store.
Yep.
And this lady called for yearly mini trims in the living room. And it's like, fuck, I was pumped to get that lady's money.
And if a horse ends up being bad, like you can always say no, pack up, and go and like save yourself. Like you don't have to put yourself in that situation.
That's
again.
When you're younger, you're a little more rubbery, and so it's it's okay. It's not that big of a deal, but that's something that's hit me. I'm 35 now, and so probably the last 4 to 5 years, it started hitting me harder and harder each year.
Same.
Of hey, you're kind of getting old, and this doesn't feel good.
Yeah.
This isn't worth it. Say no.
And a lot of times, out of them Craigslist deals, you go and do that horse, but then they have a friend that's needing a horseshoer as well.
Yep.
And then it just blossoms.
And the friend might be a good client.
Yeah, exactly.
The friend might
It's
not
going to be a better one than the one that called you initially.
She might not have minis in the living room. She might have a barn.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the actual farrier that's going to come all the time.
So nowadays, instead of Craigslist, you probably could do some marketing on Facebook.
Facebook market. So that's a great point, because it's something I see a lot of new farriers do is they're like, okay, well, I need to market through social media. But then their idea of marketing through social media is kind of trying to act like an expert.
Yeah.
And so now you're in this weird teeter-totter of you're trying to sound like an expert to your clients. So you're putting out information and facts out there each day. And something that every new farrier learns really quick is oh, I should have kept my fucking mouth shut because I'm going to put my foot in it next week.
Box yourself
and so it's
in.
you're throwing out all this advice, which in return you're going to say, I don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
That's the thing. And it also it starts putting a bad taste in other people's mouths, the older farriers that you could be getting recommendations from. They aren't going to see recommendations because they just see you on social media trying to be
your mouth
the expert.
off. Yeah,
guru.
So maybe and it's a fine line to freaking walk as you're posting to I want to be knowledgeable, but I don't want to sound like a know-it-all.
Yeah. You can find for your local area nowadays, they're going to have the Enumclaw horse group or whatever, so and you can get in there, post up your business card or
card, post up try to do a real nice shoe job. Yeah. Something that's pretty decent and just
you can do a collage,
work. Show that you're out doing work, show that you're trying to better yourself and that's the type of businesses people want to hire now is ones that they're seeing that are trying.
Professionalism does help.
Yeah.
Definitely.
No, I think that's good. Man, my phone loses that post each time I put it down. All right.
Yeah, times have definitely changed since the old Craigslist days for me,
Yeah.
Yeah. No, but it's changed, but it hasn't changed at the same time.
Yeah.
I think I've gotten the majority of my clients through word of mouth of either Steve's clients or my existing clients.
Yep. And then, even if you get them from the word of mouth, you got to keep them then.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And that can be kind of a hard part. Just be good to them.
That's where the
don't be
communication,
afraid don't be afraid to eat your hat sometimes and be like, yeah, I screwed up. Let's try again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Our next question from Clay Hartness. Most of the feet that are posted by the top hands are beautifully shaped. I have some feet that are, but still have a lot of feet that aren't. Heels that are hooked really hard, a lot of flare to the outside, etc. My question is, do you still have feet that are always on the edge of falling apart and that you can't get to come around? I feel like I can fit the shape, but when does the shape get better?
I'd say I think a lot of the problem might come from the feet falling apart is you might think you're fitting them and you might think you're trimming them well, but maybe your nails aren't in the right spot. They might be too fine, which is it's splitting the hoof wall, which is weakening it. I think the big thing is probably just the way you're fitting them and trimming them. Yeah. If those feet where you think look okay, but they say they have your lateral flare, find somebody, send a picture to them and be like, hey, where do you think I could have trimmed this more? Yeah. Or sometimes trim less and leave a little depth there.
There's so many reference points, the frog plane, soul plane, everything should kind of coincide.
Yeah.
And then I think another big one that a lot of people overlook is straight hoof wall.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Completely. Like, I think people try to influence a shape onto a foot
Yeah.
sometimes, and the foot starts losing integrity.
Yeah, because you're trying to fit this.
You're trying to
foot
fixate
the shoe.
and you end up kind of chasing yourself, kind of around in a little bit of circle. And so it's like, I think that's something that when you start getting better, and like that's one thing I can say for sure, of like going to WCBs and just hanging around Craig. Craig sees feet and shapes very well, and has in turn taught a lot of us shapes and feet and how to make strong shapes and feet. And it's not that we're trying to change a foot to a shape. It's that you can then, like Troy is saying, you can then reference the shape and build the like, I know I'm like saying shape a lot, but it's like you can like then
the overall health.
You can see what that foot wants to be.
Yeah.
Instead of trying to make it something else.
Yeah.
It doesn't always have to be a beautiful table shoe.
No.
Sometimes they're
no. I
shaped
like,
feet.
and Jim Quick said something about this the other day. He's like, I pull the foot forward and I make the football straight before I trim the bottom. So then I'm not influencing the shape.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a lot of like I do a lot of looking down the hairline.
Yeah.
Like I get up and I look down the hairline and I see if that hoof wall's projection of that hairline going down. Like we were doing that today. Yeah. Me and Troy were looking at a foot like, kind of could have changed this a little bit better to match up to what the hairline's like. Because what's on the bottom, even though it doesn't look bad, it's not what's ideal up on top. Mm-hmm. That said, it's like I live in a super wet area.
Same.
And we have show horses around. So you end up having warm bloods, thoroughbred type feet and stuff like that. So not a lot of hoof wall, kind of flat foot. And I say not a lot of hoof wall, not a lot of depth, and not a lot of thickness to the hoof wall, and very flat footed, very fleshy frogs, weak bars.
Yeah. And
so I make a lot of habit of I pull them up on the peg, I kind of get them straight again, and I burn a shoe on them.
Yeah, I don't think you have to box yourself into doing toe clips on fronts all the time. You know,
there's no such thing as a one-size-fits-all program.
Yeah, and a lot of times, like if I see feet falling apart, it's probably because I had a bad clip fit as well. Yeah. It's wanting to, fall apart around those clips.
You think so? Like on a front?
Yeah. Especially like when you pick up a horse that's been shod where the clips are clamped on, and then you see them.
Yeah, it's the balloon effect. You squeeze the sides and it stretches on the top and the back.
Yeah,
that's kind of what I meant more.
Yeah.
By seeing like the clamps just.
Yeah, I thought you meant like a toe clip.
No.
It fall apart around the toe clip.
No,
I don't really see that too much. The feet I have problems with are like I'll end up like scratching my head on sometimes. It's like some club feet.
Yeah.
Some club feet that are just like, man, they're stacking heel. There's not like they really don't have any depth in the sole in the toe area. And there's really not like if you rasp the hoof wall straight in the toe, you'd be into the pith.
Yeah.
Like you're into the shitty, you're through the hoof wall, you're into the white at the bottom. And it's like some of those sometimes I kind of have a hard time with.
Yeah.
Like those are hard feet for everybody, I think.
Yeah.
Because they just don't feel like they ever really go like
you change.
And that's where it's like I just try to okay in my head that it's like this is the cycle. Is me coming back, straightening the toe, knocking the heel off of them.
That's when things like rocker toes and things like that.
And you try to get them like grow against it, right? Like that's I use that theory a lot. It's like I need to give this hoof wall something to grow against.
Yeah.
Something that's like to get positive pressure back against this hoof wall to make it thrive again. Because right now it's just not thriving. It's not being engaged. And so like I tried doing that a lot, but there's just some of those club feet that you're like, and some of them will be healthy looking, and the horse is happy. You're just like, man, your frog points up and gets skinny like a middle fucking finger going up the middle of this. I never get any cup to the sole and the toe. Like from the top, it'll look all right. Even it'll just look like a long, kind of straighter foot. Like it won't look dishy or anything, but it's just still like
Is what it is.
Yeah.
you're never real pumped on it.
Yeah, never are.
Put lipstick on the pig.
End of the day, though, is it sound and able to do the job?
Man, I had a horse that I team roped on in high school. I would rope 20 head a day on that son of a bitch of 16 weeks with only one shoe on it.
Yeah.
He was sound and doing his job, but it was definitely not good. There's nothing good about that.
Well, wasn't it
If
just?
he wins a little bit, he was going to get whipped.
Didn't it just say, like, at the winter clinic, I think Craig said it, where, like, horses are sound in spite of us.
They are.
like-
They are a lot of the time. And so it's
Not
like,
because of us.
Yeah.
even though they're sound and doing good, I'm still like, man, you're just always trying to like push that next level. Just have real sweet feet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the majority of them, especially my book's small enough. My feet are pretty simple. Like I come back around, it's like I'm just pulling off, putting right back on. Like
What is a good shape?
a good shape, I think, goes back again to where you're saying is like when everything complements each other and it's strong in structure. So it's like if I have a good shape, is like everything's kind of coming away from the center. It's like you got your center connoisseur, or central sulcus, and you go to your connoisseurs, and then your bar stacked from there. That bar lines up with that toe quarter. That toe quarter lines up with that heel quarter, and that one over here. So like everything kind of comes around, and there's never a kink anywhere.
Right.
Everything flows nice, has nice even, and like especially for like I live in that wet. If I have total hoof wall connection, I think I am enough.
Same. Yeah.
If I have no separation in the quarters,
Yeah,
and I have
that's what I like.
solid white or yellow line all the way around from heel to heel, I'm like,
Happy.
I'm happy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm happy. Like that's where I think that's a good shape.
With the feet being as wet as we are, like I always go to that balloon effect theory. I think I heard it from Ben Yeager, where you think of the foot as a balloon and you push it in from the sides like clips. Push them in from the sides, it's going to elongate this way. Push it in this way, it's going to elongate outward. That's kind of something.
To try to answer the
back and
guy's
forth.
question of like, those feet that you think aren't that sweet probably have a sweet shape in them. You just haven't learned to complement that shape yet.
Which can kind of come from the first question that was asked: networking. Find somebody that you can bounce those ideas off of.
Because like I think where I learned to like my horses that kind of had shitty shapes, and when they got sweet, teams.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I have to be on teams. Me and Gavin were talking about that on the way up here. Whereas like we hear a lot in our trade of like, well, the only two shoes you need to learn how to make is a right and left roadster.
Yeah.
At a point, yes. At a point, I think you need to have such a foundation before that of three-quarter fuller, basic three-quarter fuller.
Even a plain stamp.
Just a basic section of the shoe. But I do think like you kind of have this basic idea and you're doing pretty good, and then you go start trying to fit roadsters on feet, not just roadsters on feet, where you start learning this caulking goes with this heel shape, this section goes with this heel shape. This so you forge a shape into a shoe, not just bend a shoe.
But it's a foundation at the end of the day. Like, there's guys out there that are trying to nail roadsters on feet that really should just be making plain stamps or three-quarter fullers.
Yep. So that's where I think is like being on a team with some people or being in groups learns how. That's where you start learning how to make not that sweet feet into real sweet feet.
Mm-hmm.
Like you learn those little fine details.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It
like
makes things come around.
Bodie and Money had said, they're just fronts and hinds.
Yeah. Soft continual arcs with no straight spots or corners.
Yep. And like me and Ed are very far apart right now in our journeys of what we're doing. And me and you both shod the hind feet.
Yeah.
And both of us got nails pretty much in the white line.
Yeah.
And everything covered. Like my feet probably would have been a little bit sweeter when we come back than your feet, just of how I trimmed them and how I fit them up. It's like, and it would, none of it would be a big difference of any of it. You know what I mean? It's just those little things where like, you just kind of get stuck in that, like the suck zone's really long.
Yeah, it takes a while. Unless you're Troy Wood.
Yeah. Troy's stuff got really.
I eat shit every day.
Like Troy's like Troy made the preventer today, and he's like, I feel like I'm finally getting to a point right on to just fucking beat my head against the wall to get one decent one. I can kind of make like the first one be kind of decent. And he's like, I had to make 65 of that aluminum shoe. It's like, okay, I can almost say confidently I probably made 65 aluminum shoes. Like, it's like, so Troy is done. He just condensed it really tight together. But I think like your feet start getting real sweet when you start getting another guy, and they start pointing out little tiny things that you aren't noticing. Like I remember like one of the first team things I went to, and I wasn't even on the team. It was just like a good team practicing, and I was like, well, what could he have done better? He's like, well, see how this is a touch thicker, and I'm like what, a 64 thicker? And he's like, yeah, a 64 thicker. It's not even.
Just subtle details.
Where it's like, man, once you start making things really, just paying attention to the details, and that starts crossing over to your everyday work, your everyday feet just start getting sweeter and sweeter and sweeter, man.
Yep.
Where things are always nailed into the white line. Things are always trimmed pretty flat. Clips are always fit pretty nice. And those not as sweet feet start getting a little better. I definitely think there's times and places. I put a question on not that long ago on our Forging Brains podcast of what do you do with these hooky heels?
Yeah, that's a tough one.
And it was kind of like, I kind of like, I'll admit, I throw questions on there sometimes. Like I kind of already know the answer. If it was a true question coming from me, I wouldn't ask Forging Brains. I would ask Craig or Quick or Troy. I would ask somebody better than me and be like, hey, what do you think? But I put it on there knowing that people would kind of eat up the hooky heel deal, but it's because it's not your stereotypical sweet shape.
Yeah.
But I've taken that horse and I've taken that hooky heel out of him before, and I've watched that shape collapse and it kink right at the quarters. You know what I mean? So it's like sometimes you just got to play with some things, and once you know this is how this horse kind of likes things, hold him there.
Try
to keep him there.
Yeah.
Mass equals strength, just like Austin says.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're not going to make something stronger by trimming more foot away.
No, it's never going to work out. And I think it's a hard thing. That's a great point. We were saying it's like, I think some people are like, well, I want this sweet shape, so they're chasing it in. And really, they're just making it weaker and weaker and weaker, where it's like, Craig has that saying of like, you got to kind of shoot for tomorrow sometimes.
Yeah.
Leave some shit on there till the good stuff gets to the bottom. And then you can start doing something.
Probably when you have a good understanding of length versus depth, you know, what can be acceptable.
Yeah.
All right. We got our next one from Brendan. I think this is Brendan Scott Schrader. Your theory, thought process on how to move shapes on metal, such as moving a quarter, shaping a bar shoe, correcting an apex like on a mass lock.
Man, we got the guy that did a whole demo at the winter clinic on moving stuff on the anvil sitting right here.
The old metal mover.
If I were to try to move a quarter higher, I would put more bend in front of the existing bend and then straighten where the existing bend is. And then that would move the quarter up.
Yeah.
But you have to have an understanding of the anatomy of the horn or the anvil, right?
Yeah.
You got the horizon hitting in front and behind.
Yeah.
And so, like, when you're using, do you more think about the work your hammer's doing or the work your horn's doing?
I think I would tie that in with my tongs as well, all three of them, and try to tie them together.
Yeah, because there's times that you can take one out of the equation if you need to.
Mm-hmm.
Like where you can kind of make just the tongs and the hammer work more, or kind of make the horn work more.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's something that I notice watching people forge a lot, is they are just thinking about their hammer.
Yeah.
And they think about how they're going to... I think more of my horn pushing things up than I think of my hammer pushing things down.
100%.
So, like, if I was looking at, like, a bar shoe, and I'm like, oh, one side of my bar is high. Or I use bar shoes to say it. Or, like, my toe. And it'd be like, well, crap. My lateral toe is leading right now, and I need this foot has a leading medial toe, like most do. I'm I would put the horn on that medial toe and push the lateral down, but let my horn push my medial up.
Right.
Up at it.
Yeah.
Like, and moving, like, how would you go about moving a mass slot?
I would, if I wanted to move it away from where the bump is, I would just hit on one side and it would just roll to away
So
from
there's
where I'm
probably
hitting.
two different ways this
Yeah.
question could be asked, whether it's still in the straight or after you have it on the toe bend and you're getting ready to pull the clip and it needs to push over one way or the other.
Well, if you hit one side, it's obviously going to go away from where it's not supported.
Yeah. But you want to have contact of that inner rim on the horn
Yeah,
to be able to.
Sweet spot on the horn where it wants to be. Otherwise, you would alter your shape.
And then whatever shape you have as the horn, or your shoe, make sure it's swallowed up by the horn to be able to do that.
If you're trying to move a masslet around and it's going to be a good shoe, it needs to be in the straight.
Yeah.
If you're trying to move a masslet once the shoe's made, you're going down a dark hole.
Down a dark hole, and I think a lot of people, like, you'll watch them try to move a mass slot, and all they really end up doing is just hammering down one side of the mass slot.
Yeah.
Like, you kind of need to go past it.
Yeah.
Grip up past it and start pulling it back. And for me, I can pull a mass slot towards me better than I can push one away from me.
I think I can do it easier pushing one.
Really?
Me too. Yeah.
But it's the same thing as, like, I can do a weld better with the heel of my hammer. Pulling a weld, a seam towards me than I can
With the toe.
towing and pushing one.
You can hit harder with your toe, though. The toe of the hammer.
You think you can? I think so. I think I can heel the shit out of one. For some reason,
But they
I feel
both
like I
get
can
the
just
job
pull,
done.
I can
As long
tighten
as
my
it
abs
rolls.
and my elbow.
Just,
I can
yeah,
pull
personal
everything out.
preference at this point.
Yeah.
Like, you could probably hit harder than me each direction.
Yeah.
But for some reason, like, I feel strong on that.
Yeah.
That
Personal
pull.
preference.
But
You'll find what works for you.
the push away, I never feel strong on the push.
Yeah.
And I can't see it.
Yeah.
And so I'm not being able to, like, see. I'm a person that's like, I have to see what's happening, like, visualize it as I'm doing it, or it's not going to go good for me.
Yeah, and you can't expect, like, your first masslet to come out how it's going to be. You're going to have to make a pile of masslet clips for them to start turning out all right. So
Well, Ed made his first masslet shoe on Monday with
I
me.
did, yeah.
How'd it go?
It was all right. Lost the leading border, but it was my first time ever doing it. And Troy said you should pull it after you've done your toe bend. I said, would I be able to just make the shoe and then pull it afterwards? He said, yeah, but you'll find out why afterwards. And I found out why afterwards because basically I lost that leading toe, but I remember watching Troy throughout the process of his making shoe. He came back and revisited it every time.
Yep.
So he didn't have to spend the extra couple of heats fixing the top line of the shoe.
Yep.
And that's just from someone that's made a lot of them and who made my first one.
Yeah, and just learn that, and, like, that's, I think, a good way to answer this question too. And Money kind of talked on it too, of, like, man, it's just learning how metal moves.
Yeah.
Even away from shoeing horses, just how an anvil works, a hammer works, and the metal responds to the objects. Of, like, man,
How did you learn how to shape, Ed?
Bending lots of shoes.
Well, like you did the whole make a ring and turn it to a square.
Yeah,
Right?
so when we did the maybe call it the preset, we literally did rings, you did bow shackles, set eye hooks, just lots of bendy things. Yep. And then
just learning inertia.
Just learning if you hit it there, that's going to bend in that way.
Yep.
And if you hit it that way, it's going to bend in that way.
I think a lot of people, especially American horseshoers, we get pretty deep into their career and they realize they don't know any of that.
Yeah.
And then they think they're too far in, and it's like to practice it or try to learn it. Or it's like, just go out there and try to learn it. Don't tell anybody you're doing it if you're embarrassed about it.
Yeah.
Just fucking do it in the darkness of the night. But it's like,
You don't got to post it on Facebook.
Yeah, like just learning how something reacts when you hit it.
And it's just repetition. You got to just go and do it.
Yeah, that's when I watch Troy forge, I'm just like, Troy's just a good blacksmith. It's like you just like, you're never doing a move to contradict 10 moves down because you know 10 moves down. because you've been there. You kind of seen it happen. So it's like, I think that's the only reason I'm an okay shoemaker. I'm not practicing all the time. So I'm in the shop a lot, just bending metal. So I'm aware of my anvil and how my hammer reacts to things. It's like I
They
think
correlate.
Yeah, you just got to. If more people made pritchels and stuff like that, I think it'd help them a ton.
It's surprising how many people can't even make a taper without fish
Super
slip in
hard.
the end.
It's super hard.
Yeah.
It is really, really hard. So I like, man, learning how to just hammer and get clean lines and things and how to crispen things up. It just makes, that's how you can then go make random shoes at the horse.
Yeah.
When
Practice.
things come up. Yeah, it's because you already know how metal is going to react. All right, we got our last question. Austin Beatty, if you could list 5, give or take, base fundamentals of shoeing, what would they be? It seems like the word is thrown around anecdotally, and everyone's basics waver person to person. From the top hands, what are y'all's definition of basics? Well, we only have Troy here as top hand, but I'll answer. Troy, you can go first. What are your definition? What are your list of basics?
Of just shoeing in general?
Hmm?
I guess I'll just do what first comes to mind. I think perimeter fit for the most part. Like if a foot's out of balance, then put the mechanics into the shoe that bring the foot in balance.
Yep.
Perimeter fit, and then trimming. I'm a big frog plane guy. Like I think the sole plane and the hoof wall should be the same plane as the frog, and then straight hoof wall. So I guess we could count that as 2. Then nails in the white line. That's another big one for shoeing. And then I already said fit.
Flat.
Yeah. That doesn't matter quite as much when you're burning on, but
Flat in this matter. The
Yeah.
shoe's got to be flat.
Yeah.
One's got to be
Yeah.
flat.
Something's got to be flat in
Yeah.
this process.
Yeah.
Like,
definitely. And then I don't know. What else? What do you guys think?
we got, Gavin.
Yeah, I mean, probably nails in the white line when you're making shoes. They're flat, and your trim is flat. So, within one of them's got to be flat. So when you burn it on, hopefully your shoe is at least pretty flat. And then I like hoof wall thickness on the trim. Like I like uniform hoof wall thickness. And then
Does that vary if the white line is stretched?
what do you mean? Like where does it vary? Like in the
Yeah, you're talking about perfect healthy foot.
Yeah, like what about like an asymmetrical one?
then I think it comes down to the straight wall at that point, and then so those things kind of like I look for, and then as far as shoemaking, flat nails, drop nails are in the white line, and then I think perimeter fit
Yeah.
what you trim,
Yeah, I think another one is the shoe should always look like the foot.
yeah, fit what you trim, and then if you can fit what you can trim, at least perimeter fit, everything else is easy after that. Like if you need to hang width out, or
Whatever you need to do.
yeah, typically
Yeah.
you're not going to go under it,
No.
but
Craig talks about it a lot of like the front half radius on one branch should match the back half radius on another branch.
Yep.
And if you have like, let's say a horse is crushing the outside and the toe quarter on the outside from the center of the toe to the widest point is all scrunched up. You fit it, of course, but then kind of match that radius and flip it around and support where the foot's getting crushed.
Yep.
And you don't stack that and let it be crushed. You trim it back and that arc opens up as you trim it back.
Yep. Starts getting on,
Yeah.
kinked the whole entire way back. What do you think, Ed?
Pretty much all that. Just try and make it as balanced as you can. If you can make it an in the box foot to an in box shoe, brilliant. Obviously, nature's not in the box, so it's one of those. Try and put your ideals to it the best way you can do, and make sure you're safe as long as you can. As long as it's safe and everything's safe, you're pretty much doing a good job.
I think safe is probably a good one you can put in there as far as like
Yeah.
Yeah, safe's just, it's a great term.
yeah,
It's just easy to freaking fudge any
no
direction.
sharp
you
edges.
want. It's just like
Yeah.
basics.
Yeah.
Or just do the basics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's like his saying. Like
Safe
everybody's
is-
basics are kind of like each one of us are
Yeah.
pretty close in agreement, but we still have a little bit of variance on what we consider
Right.
the basics.
Right.
Like the basics to me is, A, do no harm. Like if we're gonna start with just a trim, do no harm.
Yeah.
Don't get into them too far. Don't get into the frog too much. I would rather see someone not touch the frog than try to put clean lines to it and try to get it inflamed too much.
I would way rather see something under trimmed than over trimmed.
That's so like to me that's the basics of do no harm. I want to see the foot and the leg underneath the horse. I come from a using horse like upbringing, and a lot of the horses I shoot right now are movement horses where movement matters. I want to see the foot underneath the horse.
53-degree angle on everyone.
Yeah.
I think it's something that's missed a lot right now. People are like, well, yeah, I put a wedge on that because of the HPA. It's like, all fucking wedge does is make him put his his front end underneath his barrel more now.
Yeah.
I just want to see the legs underneath of the freaking shoulders
And the hind feet underneath the hip. Like, and I want to see them together on the long end. Like, I want to see things underneath of them. I would like the hoof wall to be straight, but I'd also like just strong hoof wall. If a horse has any issues where the only way to get straight hoof wall is to take a lot of ripples out of there, well, I'd rather see some ripples and a little bit of just a rolled up bottom, just so I can keep some strength. Again, that goes back to like do no harm. Perimeter fit or not, I want to see nails in the white line when we go to shoe one. I want a flat foot, and I want to see nails in the white line. I am a box guy, a basic box of horseshoeing dude. So even in my trim, I want to see the heels brought back to the highest, widest part of the frog. I want to see the bars hopefully terminate in the middle of the foot of rotation. And I want to hopefully see at least the medial quarter be close to that medial and, or maybe cocked a little either way, have the quarters kind of close to that spot. And I want to be able to have somewhere like where I'd put my toenails straight up from my heels when they in. And that box is going to kind of keep me good, my AP balance a little bit,
Yeah.
I think a lot of these answers are also going to help the guy that asked the question about the feet struggling.
Yeah.
And that's like when I'm looking at a horse's foot, proportions come a lot to me. I want to see a foot that's in proportion. I want to see a horse that's in proportion with his legs and how he's camped with them, and I want to see like proportionate hoof wall underneath of them.
And proportion of buttress length to the bulbs. That's another one that's overlooked.
Yep. Yeah. And when I put a shoe on, I want to kind of be the same thing of like, I want the shoe underneath the middle of them as best as I can get. If I need to move that, one way or the other, if that needs to affect my perimeter fit to get the shoe underneath of them, I'm okay with that as long as the nails are in the white line. And another big basic for me is like the job needs to fit his job.
Yeah, for sure.
I especially like we get a big old kick on like people love to kick sand at competitive guys that we just nail on whatever. I think my biggest freaking luxury of being a competitive horseshoer is my clients get shoes that are tailored perfectly to that horse.
Yeah.
Like it is the most common thing I hear from my clients is I love that none of my horses have the same shoes on.
Yeah.
That's because I have all those horses shod to them and to their job. It's like that is the basics of horseshoeing. He's like, I want to be safe, do no harm, fit his job, and have him underneath of himself. I've ridden horses that aren't underneath themselves, that aren't confident, and they're never that great, and they end up going a little bit unsound. But if they're underneath themselves, stuff's kept strong, you kind of give them hell. It's kind of hard to go wrong there.
Yeah. I think all 4 of us, that guy asked for 5. He might have got 20 different answers.
Yeah. But I think we all kind of came around the same
they all kind of
same gig. And I think
just
that's
explained a
something
little
that's
differently.
you hear a lot in the competition where it's like just do the basics.
Yeah.
That's one of the best
think
things
that's what he's
Craig
getting
ever told me. Craig's like, I know you want to make a cracker, but you first owe it to yourself to make one that's flat, that the nails fit, and that it's to size.
Yeah.
If you don't do that, crackers don't matter.
Yeah.
Like, And I've been beat by the guys that do those basics way more times than I wish I could count.
Yeah.
Because I thought I was going to put a sweet heel on it and that was going to help.
No, it's
and
gonna
it
matter.
doesn't.
Yeah.
Where it's like, remember that for even Amarillo, John's a basic guy himself, that it's like, if I was in Cal 1, I'd be worrying about a flat hoof surface,
Nail fit.
not racked, nail fit,
Safe up the inside.
safe and on
Hammer
sides,
finished.
and you're going to do better.
No sharp edges.
You could have probably only a 3/8 tall wedge or caulking, and the other guy could have a sweet height one, but if you're punched nice and you're flat
Yep.
and everything, it's like, you're going to do better.
Yep.
You're going to do better. So I think as far as competition-wise go, and is like, even that helps with everyday basics of like, fit the horse first. You know, give them good nails, flat, and to size.
Yeah.
Don't cheat some shit around.
And once you're able to do that, then you can move on to those subtle little details to start enhancing.
Yep.
You know, and start.
It is funny though of how three of the networking question and the how to get to clients didn't really, but it kind of did too. All these questions are answered. Go get around people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go get around people. It's just like today, the basics mattered a lot in these horses we shot today because we knew we were going to call each other out about all of them
Yeah.
right afterwards. So you knew, you're like, I better really hold up my end of the bargain here, or my buddies are
Don't
going to
wanna
say,
shit the
what
bed.
did you do this for? It's
Yeah.
like, so no, I think that's the biggest. It's interesting. I just now grabbed that it's like, just go and get around people that are going to help you out and call
Another
you out about
perspective.
things. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's going to all get a lot clearer.
Well, there's some good stuff in this episode.
Yeah. You guys got anything you want to add?
Been great.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, thanks everybody for listening, and see you on the next one.
Adios.